Hey everyone, how's it going? Happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you're able to spend time with your family, have a nice dinner, and get ready for the colossal titan that is Christmas. Or hell, maybe you're like Ash and you're just sitting down watching the Animaniacs reboot.
Hey!
Is that not what you're doing? Yeah, that's what I thought. Whatever, it is a good reboot though. But yeah, obviously you can tell from how I'm dressed that we're once again coming back to Batman The Long Halloween, Issue 2, Thanksgiving.
Warning, spoilers. As I mentioned in the last Long Halloween review, I'm covering everything. Last we left our heroes Harvey Dent and his wife Gilda had supposedly died in an explosion, and Carmine Falcone's nephew, Johnny, was murdered by a mysterious killer known as Holiday. So, how do we open this? With Batman proclaiming to the reader that Harvey Dent is dead.
Yeah, cause I totally buy that.
Batman and Gordon have been hunting down the people behind the murder, who turn out to be this Irish gang. While tracking down one of the men, Mickey Sullivan, Batman came across one of the oldest DC villains and everybody's favorite zombie, Solomon Grundy. And I'll get into his character later, but let's just say that Batman actually feels pretty bad for putting the smackdown on Grundy. Now on Thanksgiving, Batman and Gordon are interrogating the crew, starting with Mickey, who, though they have evidence of causing the explosion, they can't seem to be able to get them to admit that Carmine Falcone put them up to it. Mickey does admit that he played part in the attack, but claims that the Roman had nothing to do with it, and that they did this on their own, and that they were attacking Dent for an unrelated issue. He even goes further on saying that a lot of people were pissed off at Dent, and if it wasn't them, it was going to be someone else. Mickey even goes further on saying that he believes that Harvey Dent was the one that killed Johnny. Mickey is sent back to his cell, but then the lights go out for a brief second. The officer is a bit spooked, but Mickey doesn't seem to mind. Meanwhile, Carmine and Alberto are preparing Thanksgiving dinner, but isn't interrupted when Carla barges in angry at Carmine, saying that he's not doing anything regarding the death of her son. But Carmine believes that he has, since he thinks that Harvey Dent was the one that did it. Carla doesn't buy it and only thinks that he attacked Harvey just because of the money issue and is just trying to pin the death on him, all while Alberto just watches.
Well, that's not foreboding.
Back at the GCPD, Mickey is reunited with the gang and asks them if they remember what to do. But they all laugh it off and say of course they do. The rest of the gang gets interrogated and they all say the same thing, meaning that they committed the crime and that Carmine had nothing to do with it. Batman and Gordon call Mickey back in, and it is revealed that the real Mickey was swapped out when the lights went out, and that the Mickey that was with the gang was actually Harvey Dent, who survived the explosion along with his wife.
Which, I'm sorry, I have to call bull. I mean, you saw that explosion. What is he, Kryptonian?
But yeah, Harvey and Gilda survived, though unfortunately Gilda was more banged up in the blast, so she had to stay in the hospital, though obviously under security and in secret. Harvey decides to let them all go and spread a rumor that they cut a deal and see how Carmine reacts. The story ends with Harvey celebrating Thanksgiving with his wife in the hospital, Gordon coming home to a cold turkey, Batman making it up to someone who was born on a Monday, and the Irish gang celebrating their freedom and makes a toast to the Roman, at least until the colors disappear, and they all are greeted by the Holiday Killer. They're all gunned down, and the Holiday Killer, like before, leaves a gun, a bottle nipple, but this time a cornucopia to celebrate Thanksgiving, ending issue 2. This is a pretty good issue, though not as good as issue 1. We mostly focus on the Irish gang, and usually I talk about them when it comes to the characters, but I'm just gonna get this out of the way. They are boring. There is really nothing going for them. Even Mickey, who gets a lot of focus in the beginning of the story, is not an interesting guy. They're mostly just there to show how powerful Carmine is, to the point where people would rather go to jail than rat him out, and later get killed off by Holiday. As for how it's told, it's okay. It's told out of order, with the opening being Batman and Gordon interrogating Mickey, and then showing us Batman chasing Mickey and facing off against Grundy, and then we get back to the interrogation.
Yeah, I guess it was to get Grundy out of the way, since though he's on the cover and stuff, he's not really a part of this story.
Now, let's get into the characters, starting with Batman and Gordon, who, as you can guess from me putting them together and not doing them individually, that they didn't really get that much character development in this particular issue. But what we do get is still pretty good. They both show that they really do trust Harvey Dent, and are dead sure that he is not the Holiday Killer, though Gordon was not on board with Harvey's plan when it came to letting the criminals go. We also get to see more of Batman when it comes to his compassion. As I mentioned, he felt pretty bad for fighting Grundy because he had really nothing to do with anything. Mickey shot him and, well, he was defending himself. Grundy could have killed him, so Batman had to fight back. I'll get more into it when we talk about Grundy's character, but it definitely reminds us that Batman isn't totally ruthless when it comes to every foe, which people sometimes forget. As for Carmine, he has only one scene in the book, with him fighting with his sister, showing how sure of himself that Dent being dead will solve both Johnny's murder and, well, his money being burned to the ground, despite the fact that his sister says otherwise. Plus, as I mentioned when I talked about Mickey and the gang, we do definitely see that Carmine has some influence on people that they are willing to go to prison, then rat him out. Then we have Solomon Grundy, who, as I keep mentioning, has nothing to do with the story, but that is kind of the point when it comes to most of the supervillains in this story. Some do come into play when it comes to this case, but most of the time they're just obstacles that Batman and sometimes even the Falcone family have to deal with. As for Grundy himself, Loeb goes for the more animalistic portrayal of the character. He doesn't talk much, and when he does, it's only in the nursery rhyme that he's known for. When he was fighting Batman, he was just defending his home from people who were invading.
Not sure if that is just a coincidence or if Loeb was having Grundy symbolize something, which, if that's the case, I feel like that could be seen as kind of offensive, but to be fair, this is Jeff Loeb we're talking about, so yeah.
Well, besides that, Grundy, as a character at least, isn't too bad, though I think they could have done a better job woven him into the story. Finally, and this is going to be slightly different, but we're going to talk about the minor characters, or at least the holiday killer suspects. By this point, it's only going to be Carla Vitti and Harvey Dent, but yeah, obviously, the list of suspects will grow. With Carla's motive, well, we already know that she wants to overthrow Carmine, and taking out her muscle and now the hit squad would cause some damage, but once again, the first victim is her son and seems dedicated into finding his killer. Though, that does raise the question, how does she know Harvey Dent didn't do it? Was it because she thought Harvey Dent was too straight-laced to commit such a horrible crime? Or was it something else? As for Harvey Dent, he has a lot of motives to be the killer. Removing the fact of who he's destined to be in the future, Dent by this point has been trying to take out the Falcone family for years, got beaten to a pulp by his men, and now nearly killed along with his wife. But with the promise that he made with Batman and Gordon, would he already be willing to break that? Also, keep in mind how, though claiming he had a poor attempt at an accent, was able to fool the Irish gang into believing that he was Mickey. That does take a lot of skill. And also, when it comes to Holiday Killer, the Holiday Killer took out 5 armed thugs before they can even pull out their guns. That also takes a lot of skill. I know those aren't exactly the same type of things, but still, that is something to consider. Not saying that that also couldn't be something that Carla could do, since again, she runs her own mob gang, but still. After the art, there's not much I can say about it that I didn't say about the last issue. It's still pretty amazing. Though I will say with the ending, I did notice a change when it came to the color. It's small but noticeable. As you can see, in the end of the first issue, everything except for the blood was in black and white. While in here, they swapped out the colors from the blood to now the ornament. And it'll go like that for the rest of the story. I think this is actually a good move. Not because making the blood black makes it less graphic, but helps emphasize the creepy presence that the Holiday Killer looms throughout the story.
Issue 2 isn't the weakest issue, that comes later, but it definitely could have been done better. Hope you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and have a happy Thanksgiving. Next time, we'll be diving into more holiday fun with DC Rebirth, a holiday special.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.